Hi, hello, and welcome back to Lancer, our favorite mech tabletop RPG, and today we're talking about the deck sweeper themselves, the Tortuga. They are the ship clearer, the station cleaner, the meat janitor. Anything squirming and wriggling and moving within a ship hallway, it's going to be cleared out. I mean, just with its bulk and the shotgun. It's the bigger, older brother of the Caliban. No direct through line of design, but fulfills similar roles, just different specialties. Or the Caliban's more specialized version of the Tortuga. But yes, our next IPS-N license in the beginning of this column. I think actually at this point I have to be standing over here. We're getting there, only 2 more columns to go. But what we're going to be covering today is the entire license, so that includes the core chassis and each additional systems and weapons you get from the license levels. The core chassis is the basis of whatever frame you're picking, so whatever traits we mention with that, but any of its systems and weapons can be mixed and matched on any of these other chassis. You've got a long playlist to go back through for mixing and matching. But moving back to the Tortuga themselves, it is the ship clearer, specifically large stations, spinal columns on capital ships, and carrier decks. Like, it's so big and clunky that it's meant to operate in narrow firing ranges, or directly in null gravity to act as cover for anything behind it, both in the ship and outside of it. There's even references to some of its other systems that it's a bit difficult or it catches some of the regular pilots off guard when it's in a gravity well. It's designed for a very specific purpose, even though it can be in other fields. And for that one purpose, it's so good, it became the flagship of IPS-N. So a while back, IPS-N was to have a large fleet license for different mechs. Or at least trying to, similar to the Sherman or the Everest. And they tried to bring out the Raleigh for that. However, the Raleigh got dumpstered, and no one really bought the entire license for the mass production. So IPS-N used one of its own internal fleet licenses and put that out, and it became popular to the point it's still the flagship, a regular amongst boarding parties and Marines. Because it has a shotgun. It's a size 2 mech with a shotgun, called the Deck Sweeper, and that's not even talking about its other licenses. That's the first thing you get in its license is the Deck Sweeper. On top of that, it acts as physical cover, purposely meant to be clunky and jam up ship hallways, and some actual good tech systems so it can quickly react to things within sensors, you know, for the act of sweeping the deck. And when things get tight, or there's a blast door, or a ship in the way, or another chassis, it can just ram through it. It is a big, muscly mech to take hits and move forward into a ship or station, or just an open space taking flak while something's behind it. But those are its general roles. On to its stats. As compared to the Everest, the starting frame you get at LL0. You know, it's kind of funny. This series has been going on so long, CompCon changed format. Though acting as this tank and cover kind of goes to one of its traits later, but that armor. Reducing 2 from every hit makes up for the fact you're 2 lower on your health. Lower evasion, lower speed makes sense for the big Hulk, meant to be specifically blocky and awkward to fire around or move. Good old IPS-N, durable and replaceable components, giving up that repair cap. But something that might have stood out to you when talking about the tank or the kinetic force IPS-N is the fact it has tech attack and E-defense, and a large sensor range. Now, it doesn't even really have any systems that exploit that, it's just meant to be able to resist or can be mounted with those when it's boarding. Well, it does use the sensor range, but the tech attack and E-defense is just a really nice bonus. But you've seen the stats, all the arrows, taking a picture, whatever, and we're moving on. So, as mentioned at the very start, this is a size 2 chassis, just like the Saladin. It's got a lot of bulk, and a very imposing image. But the mounts on that size 2 are main and heavy, so you even have enough room to mount a super heavy on there. This is coming in with firepower. It's not just the defensive support role like the Saladin was. That's a side thing it can do, just acting as physical cover. It is trying to sweep the deck. It's there to make stains on the inside of a ship. Now for its traits. For the first we have Sentinel. It gains +1 accuracy on all attacks made as reactions, so Overwatch namely. Because it's not just charging in, it's your slow bulk moving down the hallway waiting for any sucker to try and move out into your field of view. Also adding into that Guardian role. Speaking of that, its next trait, Guardian. Adjacent allies can use you as hard cover, just like the Saladin. Again, you are the bulk, you are the cover, as you're jammed into that hallway as everyone's moving behind you. But after those 2 traits, we already move on to the core power, the Watchdog co-pilot, and this has a descriptor. Though in general, it's not that complex. So IPS-N knows of the heavy cost of boarding actions in space. Even in good winning engagements, you still have a usually 30% casualty rate. On the winning side. Adds up when you're basically taking a small city flying through the stars. So to ease the burden on pilots, they made the Watchdog, to act as a co-pilot system in the middle of combat. Now there's other systems we've talked about that have kind of acted as co-pilots or helped you shoot or fire, even similar on the Raleigh. But this isn't an NHP or a CompCon. Instead, this is a flash homunculus made up of previous after-action reports and scans. Debatable over its use, to the point that the Union Science Bureau and the DOJ HR is currently investigating it, but at the moment it's still in full-line production. The exact nature of a homunculus will probably be better saved for its own video just talking about AI in general in Lancer. Otherwise, it acts as your co-pilot, so when you're walking down the halls needing to quickly react to something, the co-pilot can handle it. The watchdog fulfills its role as a watchdog. And it isn't just a software system, it still functions and can, like, interact with you in some manner. Just not nearly like a design personality you'd find on some CompCon or the personality of an NHP. It's a lot more straightforward program. But to what it actually does, the active hyper-reflex mode of protocol, which makes you really good in the Overwatch position, on top of already having Sentinel. But for the rest of the scene, any weapons you have that aren't at threat 3 gain threat 3, or increase up to it. And once per round, you can take an additional Overwatch reaction. The big one, any character you hit with Overwatch is immobilized until the end of their next turn. And to trigger Overwatch means they were already moving, they're now immobilized, and they have to wait till the end of their next turn after that to even begin moving again. That part's nasty. It's terrible. You're basically kneecapping them on their way out, or just hitting them in sensitive enough locations so suddenly it throws them off balance. Or, you know, if it's an organic target, just miss them. Now we head into LL1, kicking off with the Deck Sweeper Automatic Shotgun, a main close quarters weapon, with a range of 3, a threat of 3, and dealing 2d6 kinetic damage as an LL1 weapon. Yes, I know the Cyclone exists. And it is that. It is a shotgun. It's a massive shotgun. It can handle a ton of different ammunition depending on whatever's in the shell. Slug, shot. It is a shotgun. However, as a massive automatic shotgun, it has inaccurate, so 1 difficulty when firing. And next up is the Siege Ram for 2 system points. And just in good IPS-N fashion, it's easy to use and indestructible. It doesn't get as simple as a massive metal beam with a wedge at the end of it meant to ram doors. Like, this isn't a modification to make your mech ram faster or to charge. This isn't the Nelson. This is to breach into bulkheads, or breach into other mechs. So when you're ramming a target, it deals 2 kinetic damage on hit. However, if you're specifically hitting object or terrain, it does 10 AP kinetic damage. This is opening that door. This is IPS-N open up. And even though it's a big hunk of metal, it is a unique system. You can't have multiple of this. They don't stack. And even though it's simple, I think it takes 2 systems just because of the bulk it takes up attached to your mech. Now, kicking off LL2, we have a fantastic couple of weapons. First off with the Daisy Cutter, a heavy CQB, and it's essentially, in its own words, a massive shotgun. This is a single barrel loaded sabot round, which is Cone 7 3d6. Its ammunition being a mix of fleche rounds, bearings, and magnesium strips that are ignited upon firing, on top of just whatever detritus you might have thrown in there on top of it. Listen, we already talked about the Deck Sweeper. That's for, you know, like a broom, you have to sweep multiple times. Daisy Cutter's just one big wave. And remember, this is a Cone 7. Tortuga's a size 2. You're basically firing a pyramid down a hallway. A pyramid of shrapnel and ignited magnesium strips. Which also, on attack, is so much detritus, it makes a soft cover cloud that lasts until the end of your next turn, filling that entire Cone 7 space. And the specialized bits of ammunition make it limited to, so you have to be specific when you use this. Rely on the Deck Sweeper more. More special instance, just clear a space. Clear it of targets and fill it with shrapnel. And next up we have the Catalytic Hammer, a main melee weapon, which is threat 1 and does 1d3 plus 5 kinetic. Its minimum is 6. Throw on other talents to add additional dice to this. Other mods, that's a flat 6. And then it can go up to 8. With an additional trait, on a critical hit, it stuns the target until the end of their next turn. Which if you did this as a part of Overwatch... Ouch! Ouch. Though, to describe what this actually is, because this isn't just a big maul or hammer or power hammer. In fact, it's colloquially called the pile bunker, giving a bit more of a direct nature. So originally a bit of mining equipment, it's a loaded cylinder with a spiked edge, fired to send it down a short barrel to make immediate kinetic contact with the target. It's something so powerful that the superstructure of the mech needs to be adjusted to equip it to handle the load of kinetic force, as then the breach is cleared and loaded again, which, yes, it does have the loading property, so you can't consistently use this, at least not readily. It is a heavy hit. Kicking off LL3, we have another weapon mod, the Through-Bolt rounds, 2 system points. So Through-Bolt rounds can be applied to any CQB, cannon, or rifle. It's a bit of tech developed by the IPS-N Anti-Armor Division, which attached to the end of the barrel fires a short lance of plasma to soften up the targets to have no intervention from the projectile leaving your gun. And what that mechanically means is, as a quick action, it does 2 AP damage in a straight 3 line. No rolls to hit or anything, doesn't need to get rid of their health. The projectile goes through this lance, clearing a path for the ammunition, which then continues on. Well, not just continues on. You see, while the lance did penetrate and fire through the target, there was so little resistance and almost a bit of propulsion from the through-bolt round. The beginning of its range is considered at the end of the through-bolt round 3, and then continues in the same direction. So on top of just passing through anything and dealing immediate damage to whatever was in front of you, it gains an additional 3 range. Which again, going back to the scenario the Tortuga is meant for, on ships, stations. Can't get through a bulkhead or you know an enemy's on the other side? Fire through the wall. What's stopping you? You already act as a wall, can fire through it and remove it. And last up, we have Hyperdense Armor for 3 system points. But you get 2 new actions, the Activate and Deactivate of Hyperdense Armor. Both a quick action, but for the Activate, you gain resistance to all damage, heat, and burn from any attack originating from 3 spaces away. From more than 3 spaces away, forcing them to come to you to your close quarters. However, you are slowed and deal half damage, half heat, half burn to anything out of range 3. When it comes to deactivate, it just removes this effect. But its unique shield system from IPS-N that catches a lot of its own pilots off guard, with a strange shimmering appearance on the outside of your armor as it becomes extremely dense. That slowing you is due to the weight of it. Within its own description, saying that some pilots that were within gravity wells were suddenly caught off guard as they quickly descended. Usually operated and meant to be used within null grav space. But another tanky effect to add on to this wonderful picture that is the Tortuga. Understanding that it is the flagship of IPS-N. It is the boarding action. It is the industrial tank, the monster. Because I've joked about the Caliban before, and at the very start of this video calling it the little brother of the Tortuga, but that's it. It's the little brother. It's the more specialized. The Tortuga is here to clear a ship. It's got the deck sweeper, the daisy cutter. It is here to remove doorways or fire through them. It doesn't care. It is getting through that hole. You had the Lancaster that was acting as sort of support, repair, this general aid that's sprinting down and galloping down capital spines. Reinforcing, repairing. The Tortuga is the opposite of that. It is the opposite. It's not here to repair, reinforce, or quickly speed down. It is slowly plotting its way through a ship, down its main channels, removing anything that appears in its sights. It's a slow looming death that just got to your deck. Thank you for watching the video on Tortuga! Just in general, the fact it's meant to jam up the hallway, a shotgun called the deck sweeper, it's just such industrial violence. It's the epitome of the damaging and hurting side of IPS-N. It has a task, clear decks, and they built a mech for it. It is the flagship for a reason. But if anything, this just got me wanting to talk about the Caliban more. They really are a pair of those two. Both meant to gut ships, both meant to deal with the problem of 30% casualties. But anywho, thanks again for watching the video, a thank you to my patrons, and have a nice day.
Hai, omae da. Demo, watashi wa